Welcome back to the Via Voice. I'm your host, Luke Wyman, licensed realtor here in Northwest Indiana. One of the biggest and most misunderstood first steps in the home buying process is talking to a lender. And today, instead of just telling you why it matters, I wanted you to hear it straight from the source. Joining me today are two local mortgage professionals, Jeff Markovich with Insight Mortgage and Brett Goins with Wintrust Mortgage. And I asked each of them a few quick questions that every first-time home buyer should hear before they start scrolling through Zillow. Let me put on my headphones and we'll get started. So we're joined here with one of my favorite friends and great coworker here, Jeff Markovich. He's with Insight Mortgage. We're going to bring him up here on screen so everybody can see him. And Jeff, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Luke? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate you joining me today. And we'll just get right into some of the questions that we want to talk about here. And I'm sure first-time home buyers want to learn. What does someone actually need to get pre-approved?
The main things are income documentation, asset documentation, usually a couple months worth of, checking account statements, savings account statements. They need to tell me a little bit about their credit, and then I have to run credit. But I've been doing it so long now that I can kind of feel people out without having to run their credit. They have to be upfront with me. A lot of people try to squeeze things by thinking that I'm not going to discover, some negative aspects of their credit. But there's not a whole lot in today's world with today's technology that they're going to be able to squeeze by.
Right.
Also need a idea of, what kind of payment they're comfortable with. So I know if their income is going to meet their, qualifications.
What's the biggest mistake you see first-time home buyers make before they call you?
Usually running up credit card debt, maybe calling when they've been late on a small credit card bill with a $20 a month payment. And, they got to be more serious about the transaction itself, that, who's going to lend somebody money when they're late on a $20 a month payment, when they're going to have a $1,500 or $2,000 payment a month. I mean, it doesn't sound like somebody that I'd want to lend money to. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely understood.
So usually you got to have pretty clean credit for 12 consecutive months before applying for a mortgage.
What's one mortgage myth you wish buyers would stop believing?
A lot of people believe they need a whole lot of money down. It's not necessarily true. There's a lot of programs out there, conventional programs with as little as 3% down. And currently I have some FHA programs at 100% with no money down at all.
What's one thing someone can do this month to be more ready to buy?
They need to change their spending habits. I was talking to a client the other day, and she said, my friend's kid who's getting ready to buy a house, God, I remember when you are giving that kid $20 and he'd spend 60.
Right.
Every little bit helps, and I think that's just preparing themselves to make the adjustment that you're not going to be living for the day. Believe me, investment in real estate is one of the most smartest things that a person could do. Even myself, a good portion of my asset portfolio is through real estate, and it's the easiest way to save money because you're going to have a payment anyway. So I guess the biggest thing would be just to be ready to kind of make some adjustments in your life.
Is there anything that you want to discuss, maybe that I forgot, or something that you want maybe first-time home buyers or home buyers in general to know?
I noticed the first podcast that you did that you had said comfort before something else, expense maybe. It's real key in this business because you'll see that a lot of people that extend themselves too far are the people that are destined for foreclosure. There's nothing worse than paying your mortgage payment, and then all of a sudden kind of like dreading the mail coming in because you know that there's another payment due right around the corner. Um, but you know, I guess something that I always tell people is, the biggest uh, mistake in life people make is to have lived to be really old and never have truly lived. And nobody wants to just live for their house. Okay. I'm a big proponent against that. It doesn't make
What do they
sense
call
to
that? They call that like house poor or something like that.
be a house poor. And,
Yeah,
it's just, there's puts too much stress in people's lives. And, there's a whole lot of other things in life um, besides just extending yourself too far for a home and trying to keep up with the Joneses.
absolutely, and totally agree with that, man. Thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your busy day to come on and just educate some of our first-time home buyers. Jeff, take
All
care,
right.
buddy, and we'll put your number there at the bottom for people to reach out to you.
All right.
Take
Thanks
care.
again, Luke. Okay. Bye.
I'm joined today by Brett Goins of Wintrust Mortgage. Brett, how are you today, my friend?
Good. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. I really appreciate you jumping on. I know we've been doing this for a couple of years together, and I appreciate you doing this with me. Again, this is brand new for me, this whole podcast thing, but I'm having a little fun with it and seeing what we can do to, you know, just get the word out about, of course, first-time home buyers and any home buyers really. But I wanted to jump in with a quick question with you, Brett, here about getting pre-approved. And do you think it's a commitment, or do you think it's more of just a planning step?
A little bit of both. It's definitely a great first step to talk to a lender before you start looking at houses. By no means are you committed to that specific lender who issues your pre-approval, but we do ask for a lot of documentation up front so we can create a financial picture to put you in the best position for purchasing a home. But by no means is it a commitment. If you talk to me or a different lender, you are absolutely allowed to shop around. But usually, we'll say, um, they stick with who you talk to the first time because you start building a relationship with them, a little bit of trust, answer all their questions, especially being first time home buyers. I
Yeah,
always
you're
tell
there to
my
help them
buyers,
out. I mean,
yeah,
you're
for
right.
sure.
I
I
mean,
always say, if it doesn't make sense, stop me and I'll explain it a different way because we want you to know what you're doing when you're purchasing a home. It's the biggest purchase of your life, you know?
absolutely. I mean, it's a lot of money, and it's something you want to make sure it's done right. And I know everybody that I've talked to with you, have had a great experience with it, and I know they appreciate, how much you work through them and how diligent you are with them. And I know it's a great part for you to help them every step of the way. And
Yeah,
and
for
speaking of
sure.
that,
Even when we close a loan, I tell the buyers the same thing. I said, guys, just because we close a loan, don't lose my number. Call me. I'm
sure.
here for you. I'm here to answer any questions you got, even after the loan.
Absolutely. And that's something too that we're going to talk about in future episodes too, post loan things to do. And we'll get into that in some more of our future episodes. But kind of rolling through some of our questions here, how much should somebody really worry about their credit before buying?
So I always say it's never too early to talk to a lender, meaning I can have a conversation with somebody over the phone and ask specific questions, and I can actually give you tips on how to raise your credit score. So if we can raise your credit score from mid 600s to maybe low 700s to mid 700s in a matter of 6 months, you're going to get better favorable terms, better interest rate, maybe a better loan program just by having that simple conversation up front and early in the process.
That's huge. That's absolutely
Yeah, for
huge.
sure.
And so speaking of interest rates and some of the things, what's more important, the interest rate or the monthly payment? I mean, I know it's a little of both, right? But what's
Sure.
more important, you think, towards your end home buyer?
So even in my first conversation with buyers, I will ask some questions and then I ask them, what are you hoping to keep your mortgage payment around? And they, some say I want to buy a $500,000 house and I want my mortgage payment at 1,500. I said, don't we all, right?
Right, right.
So it's definitely very important, but I would say monthly payment. You have to make the monthly payment once a month for your mortgage. we can do our best on interest rate. Interest rates fluctuate. So say we can get you in, a 6% right now, maybe in a few years, the rates come down and then we can lower your mortgage payment just with a simple refinance. But I would
That's
say
huge.
upfront monthly payment for sure.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, in future episodes, we'll talk about this. But, when you're first buying, when you first get in, if you're comfortable with that payment and in a few years, when you can refinance, like you talked about, and get that lower, that's a huge sticking point or a huge plus for a homeowner, right? I mean, they can
Sure.
maybe go from a 30-year to a 15-year term and only
Absolutely.
change a little bit of a monthly payment.
Yeah, the payment a couple $100 maybe, depending on what rates do.
Absolutely. So switching gears a little bit, tell us a little bit about that private mortgage insurance. I know it's always for first-time home buyers with someone maybe not coming in with their full, the full down payment they need. In past conversations we've had where people have talked about, your private mortgage insurance being a couple $100 a month. What's the reason for it? And why do home buyers need to understand what it is and how it talk about how it will come off in future years
Sure.
once you get to a certain point?
So right now I'm doing a loan for a first time home buyer. We're going conventional and her boyfriend asked me, I don't understand. Why are we going FHA? And I said, well, a good reason why we're going conventional is because there's mortgage insurance on both loans, correct? And they're like,
Okay.
yes. And I said, okay, FHA is set in stone. FHA, the mortgage insurance is the same if you have a 600 credit score or you have an 800 credit score. On a conventional loan, the mortgage insurance is based off of your credit score and your down payment. So what I mean by that is this first time home buyer is buying a house with 3% down. Her mortgage insurance is actually $96 cheaper going conventional because she has good credit score than it is going FHA. And when I said that statement, both of them were very, very surprised that it makes more sense to go conventional than FHA because a lot of people think FHA is for first time home buyers. FHA is a great loan, but that mortgage insurance will never go away the life of the loan. Conventional, it'll go away after you pay 20% of the loan down.
And that's why it's so important to have a good lender who understands the process, who
Yep.
understands, all of those ins and outs to get you the best rate possible. Brett,
Yeah.
thank you for that. And then one more here before I let you go. What advice do you give buyers who are nervous about that monthly payment?
So I have actually had multiple buyers nervous about their payment, and we actually sat down and did a budget together. I know that may sound silly, but it's like, guys, let's put it on paper. Sometimes it's easier to see financials on paper, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they agreed with me. And the other thing I did for that same client is say he was a mill guy. They work a lot of overtime. I said, why don't we structure your loan using 40 hours a week in your base pay? I said, let's not include the overtime. And they didn't understand why. And I said, guys, overtime comes and goes. And they're like, well, we're pretty consistent. I said, I understand you're consistent, but let's play worst case scenario. Say they take away your overtime all at once. You can still afford your house on your base pay. So I'm not a big fan of including overtime and especially first time home buyers going to the top of their budget because that's a scary approval. You're relying on your overtime to make your housing payment. So I
Yep.
always say let's try to go base pay, leave overtime out, and then all your overtime is just extra money. You can put it aside, you can make an extra mortgage payment, maybe that's your vacation money, but that seems to ease their mind a little bit about their monthly payment. And another plus is if we do the loan under the husband name and not the wife's, there's separate income we're not even including on the loan. So they kind of opens their eyes a little bit when you just simply just have a conversation with them and explain the process. And then that eases their mind about their payment.
That's fantastic. Brett Goins with Wintrust Mortgage. I cannot thank you enough for joining me today. And I think, just those little bits of information that you can give to first-time home buyers in general would help them in educating their process and figuring out what they need to do. So, Brett, is there anything that I missed that you want to talk about before I let you go?
No, I mean, pick up the phone, give me a call. It's just a simple conversation. There's no commitment. I don't need documents up front. Let's just walk through the process and educate you, that way you know what to expect, even if you're looking to buy next year. It's never too early just to have a simple conversation.
Awesome. Brett, thank you so much, buddy. And we will be talking to you again, I'm sure, in future episodes. Appreciate you, everything. Take care.
Sounds good. We appreciate it.
Huge thanks to Brett and Jeff for taking a few minutes to share some real, practical insight. If you're a first-time buyer, here's the biggest takeaway. Talking to a lender early doesn't lock you into anything. It gives you clarity, confidence, and a realistic game plan. And just like today's episode showed, it's okay and smart to talk to more than one lender to find the right fit for you. If you have questions about buying a home here in Northwest Indiana or want help connecting with trusted local professionals, feel free to reach out. This has been the Via Voice, real conversations, real estate, and real guidance. We'll see you next time.